Turkey's descent into chaos is continuing at the moment after the failed coup attempt. The Independent reports here, more than 2,000 institutions were closed on Saturday by the Turkish president in reaction to the recent attempted coup by parts of the military. The number of organizations shut down includes 35 hospitals. Wow, you got them. 19 unions and 1,043 schools. Mr. Erdogan has also closed more than 1,000 charities and associations. Around 60,000 police officers, soldiers, judges, and teachers have been suspended, detained, or put under investigation. So this is just one giant purge. Anybody who has expressed disagreement with Erdogan and the AKP, they're now gone. Prominent people who've uttered a peep of disagreement, well, you know, now we call you terrorist sympathizers because there was a failed coup attempt, and all your rights are gone, and we have a green light to do anything we want against you. In fact, that leads to the next portion here. Amnesty International also obtained, quote, extremely alarming accounts of torture and other ill treatment of detainees from their lawyers, doctors, and a person on duty in a detention facility. According to these reports, police held detainees in stress positions for up to 48 hours, denied them food, water, and medical treatment, verbally abused and threatened them, and subjected them to beatings and torture, including rape and sexual assault. Erdogan's thugs are now raping people. They're raping people and torturing people who they detained because they say, oh, you're all complicit in this attempted terrorist takeover of the nation. Turkey's in a bad, bad spot. I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's probably not too early to declare that democracy is dead in Turkey. He's already granted himself special powers. He's, it's an emergency situation, so now I get to call all the shots. Now I'm just a dictator. It couldn't have unfolded any worse. You know, I told you guys from the beginning, the best case scenarios, there's two of them. It was either there was no coup attempt, and then somehow in the next election you can actually oust Erdogan. Now, I'm split as to whether or not that was possible because there were some reasonable charges of election fuckery from the AKP behind the scenes in one of the recent elections. So maybe they would have rigged it and they would have kept on rigging it. But I don't know if I'm wholly convinced of that yet because he didn't win like usually when dictators win 92% of the vote. He won with like 50-something, like low 50-something percentage. So that leads me to believe that no, it actually could have been possible to oust him in a coming election. So best case scenario for Turkey would have been don't do a coup and then in the next election you oust him. Now, Erdogan's been known to do the Putin move where he goes from prime minister to president, and every time he's in one or the other, oh, look, I have all the power. But I'm not wholly convinced that it was impossible yet to get him out of there through traditional democratic means. So I would have liked to exhausted every option in that respect. So that would have been ideal. Don't do a coup, oust him democratically. But then the second thing would have been, if you do the coup, it's gotta succeed. But then there's an asterisk by that, too, because Erdogan seems to think it's Gulen who's behind it. Gulen is also a right-wing Islamic scholar. So you're replacing one crazy authoritarian right-winger with another crazy authoritarian right-winger. Who knows if Turkey would have been better off? I really don't know. So if it was Gulen doing the coup, then I don't know if it was better or worse if the coup succeeds, because he could be just as authoritarian in the crackdown. I really don't know. But if it was the secularists and the people who actually care about democracy and human rights doing the coup, well, then you want that coup to succeed because then it would be, you know, certainly more democratic and more embracing of human rights than Erdogan is doing right now. So you oust Erdogan and then you have a council rule for a certain amount of time and then you have democratic elections that are scheduled for not that far in the future. And there's a history of this in Turkey. See, apparently in Turkey, the president is not the head of the military. He's not the commander-in-chief. So the military It's in the Turkish constitution that the military has to uphold secularism and democracy. So they already viewed Erdogan as too big of a threat to that and already too much of an authoritarian, so that's why they tried to topple him. Again, this is if the secularists and the people who believe in democracy were the ones doing the coup. So if that succeeded and then there were elections, then it would have been similar to, I think, something that happened in the 60s and in the 80s in Turkey. So I don't know, but the worst case scenario is if there was a democratic election and Erdogan won again, in which case then you're really starting to have conversations of, oh, he's just trying to permanently make himself the leader, and maybe there was even further election rigging. Or if there was an attempted coup and it failed, that may be the worst of all worlds, because now the guy who was already authoritarian and didn't care about democracy and secularism and human rights, now, you know, he views it as a fucking free pass. Just runs roughshod over everybody who disagrees with him. And Turkey's a permanent authoritarian theocratic police state. That's where we are right now, and that's why my heart goes out to everybody struggling and dealing with this in Turkey.